Daniel Bushell, water, food and population control. Highly disturbing footage in this program.
Bill Gates' eugenics plan caught on camera. Kids' reaction to genetically modified organisms. And why food riots are expected this summer.
Water should not be a human right, according to food giant Nestle. Its boss admits in an interview for Big Think he has no place for philanthropic ideas.
NGOs bang on about declaring water a public right. That means, as a human being, you should have a right to water. Personally, I believe it's better to give it a value, and then one should take specific measures for the population that has no access to this water.
Let's talk to Anthony Gucciardi at Natural Society. Thanks a lot for coming on. What do you make of this?
I mean, if water should be owned by these major corporations, then why not the air that we breathe? Why can't air be privatized then? Why can't every aspect of our lives be turned into corporate-owned profit?
The world's first water investment fund's about to, quote, commercialize the element key to life. We know what takes place when the single most critical resources on the planet get commercialized. It's already happened. An investigation by Frederick Kaufman at Harper's Magazine found after Wall Street cleared the housing market in '08, the big banks turned to something even more essential, food. Thanks to deregulation and removed trading limits, Goldman Sachs started a trend of buying and hoarding unheard of amounts of the most critical crops: wheat, rice and corn. Now, with prices once again nearing historic highs, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology reports everything is now in place for another summer of world riots.
Their restructuring of these commodity markets pushed 250 million new people into food insecurity and starving, and brought the world total up to over 1 billion people. This is the most abysmal total in the history of the world. It was not only in Burkina Faso. This was in America. You had 1 out of 5 children in America at soup kitchens.
And then there's Monsanto.
These seeds are now patented property of one corporation called Monsanto. Cotton seed used to cost 5 rupees, 7 rupees a kilogram. When Monsanto entered with its BT cotton, it shot the price up to 3,600 rupees a kilogram for seed.
Shamla's fields were once fertile, but now they bring her only sadness. Her husband Chandar owed over $5,000 in debts. 3 days ago, she tells me, he hung himself here.
Upwards of 80% of key US-grown foods like corn are already genetically modified. When GMOs get from the lab to the table, doctors and scientists consistently warn of extremely serious effects.
Every single independent study conducted on the impact of genetically modified food shows that it damages organs, it causes infertility, it causes immune system failure, it causes holes in the GI tract, it causes multiple organ system failure.
Britain in the 90s gave $3 million for testing the safety of GMOs to the leading global expert in the field, Dr. Arpad Pushtai. The GMO ticking time bomb documentary reports within just 10 days, rats fed the GMOs started exhibiting horrific changes.
It became clear that the GM had a slower growth. It had problems with internal development of its organs, and it certainly knocked out the immune system.
For 2 days, he was a hero to the world's media. Next day, Dr. Pushtai was fired after 35 years with threats of a lawsuit, and the GMO industry launched a massive smear campaign. If independent science is gagged, companies are usually expected to test for safety. However, this is what Monsanto admitted.
Monsanto should not have to vouchsafe the safety of biotech food. Our interest is in selling as much of it as possible.
The regulator in the US is the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA. Obama's made Monsanto Vice President Michael Taylor the food czar, in charge of America's food safety itself. This documentary notes some of the consequences.
The U.S. government's WIC program provides free formula to over 2 million newborns, but only the genetically engineered varieties.
All I could hear him go is and like itching. I'm like, what the heck is going on? And he has turned red. He couldn't breathe properly. I was in panic. I called 911. I was just like, I think my son's having a food allergy attack.
Okay.
And I immediately took him to the doctors, and I got all these tests done, and sure enough, he's deadly allergic to corn now.
25, 30, 35 years ago, no one was allergic to anything. And now everything. I have people that are allergic to parsley.
When you link it to the GMO issue, it resonates like you would not believe.
The villain in this is Obama to me, because he first of all, he promised blatantly that he would look into this and do something, and he didn't.
We'll let folks know whether their food has been genetically modified, because Americans should know what they're buying.
He also appointed, what is the guy's name? Michael Taylor. Used to be a VP at Monsanto, the seat of evil, to be the food czar, the FDA deputy commissioner of foods. And of course, Monsanto's latest Frankenfood got speedy approval because this guy is in charge of it. Because it's like putting Jerry Sandusky in charge of Chuck E. Cheese. Of course he's going to approve.
Monsanto's the company that told us that PCBs were safe. They told us that Agent Orange was safe. They told us that DDT was safe. And now they're in charge of telling us if their own genetically modified foods are safe. Because the FDA doesn't require a single safety study, they leave it to Monsanto.
A new bombshell email is even more alarming when investigative journalist Anthony Gucciardi questioned a senior GMO executive on shocking evidence that genetically modified foods cause infertility. Here's how he responded.
If this causes infertility, awesome. The world is overpopulated. This is why GMO is actually saving the planet. I am doing humanity a fucking favor. Sincerely, Ed.
Questions are now being asked on Monsanto buying a firm that's injected a permanent infertility gene into corn. The corporation's name is Epicite.
Epicite patented a product, patented a gene, which causes both men and women who eat it, in the form of any product, to produce antibodies, rendering them irreversibly sterile. Now, DuPont and Monsanto formed a joint venture, purchased the Epicite firm, and, quote, commercialized the Epicite gene. Do you want to know if the food that you're eating contains the Epicite gene? The FDA, the Fraud and Death Administration, has made sure that under current laws, it is illegal for you to have that information.